Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be creating a Valentine's themed card, and I'm going to be using this large sentiment that says hugs, kisses, and Valentine wishes, and I'm going to pair it with this adorable little bear image from the new release Joyful Heart Bears. This is the newest set from Stacy Yakula, and it has some adorable little bear images that I thought would go perfectly with this large sentiment. So I'm going to kind of create a little bit of an inked background. I'm going to do some grass and a sky. I am going to do a sky in pinks and purples though, instead of the traditional blue. And then I'm going to put the sentiment and the little stamped image on top. So the first thing I did to create my card is I used the Stitch Snowdrifts Dynamics to die cut 2 pieces of masking paper, and we're going to use these to create both the grass area as well as the sky. So I kind of figured out where I wanted to position the bear as well as the sentiment, and then I placed the masking paper on the bottom of the panel. That's going to leave the large open area of the panel on top and allow me to do the ink blending for the sky. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with my purple, which is Wilted Violet Distress Ink, and I'm going to start with the purple along the bottom along the grassy edge. Once I have a little bit of that purple on there, I'm going to flip the panel around and I'm going to switch over to the picked raspberry. I really love the look of the purple and the pink when they kind of mix together, and I love seeing the purple fade off into the pink on the finished panel. So once I'm happy with the blend on there and I have it nice and smooth and I don't have any really harsh edges, I'm going to come in with the Radiating Rays stencil. And this is just going to add a little bit of detail to the sky area and kind of look like the rays are kind of coming out from behind the bear. And when I like to do the stenciling on a background like this, I like to use the exact same colors that I used to create the background. So I'm going to use the same Wilted Violet on the bottom and just kind of add that on lightly at first. If you go too dark, you can't really remove the color, so I prefer to go kind of light and then just darken it up until I'm happy with it. And once I'm done with the purple, I just go in with the pink and I blend that out until I have some in the sky area as well. And my stencil didn't quite reach it all the way over to the left there, so I did put it back on and shifted it up a bit so I could extend those rays all the way to the edge of the panel. Once the sky area was done, I went ahead and removed the masking that I had added to the bottom, and I'm going to put the other mask on top and just kind of put it right over top of that inking. And this is just going to protect the sky area so that I can add the green ink onto the bottom, which is going to be the grass. So for this one here, I'm just going to use one color. I'm not going to do any ink blending or shading with various colors of green. I'm just going to use the same solid mode long color, and I'm going to cover the entire bottom of this panel. And then once I remove that second mask, we have a completed background scene where we have the grass area on the bottom, and then we have that really fun purple and pink sky at the top. Now this next step is completely optional. I always like to add water to the background anytime I'm using distress inks because it reacts with the water and kind of lifts some of that color off, and I just really like the effect that you get when you do this. Now you definitely don't have to do this if you want to keep the background completely solid. Just skip this step and then set your panel aside because we need to color our little bear image that we're going to add to the front. So to do the stamping, I used my Mini Misty to stamp him out just so I could double stamp him and get a really nice solid black outline. And I used Extreme Black ink, which is a Copic friendly ink. So now I'm going to go through the coloring. I am going to speed this up, but I am going to leave all of the coloring in the video. And I'm going to use some T markers to do the gray coloring. Now typically when I do any kind of critter coloring and I use gray markers, I tend to use the W's because I really like the warm gray look to them. But I really wanted to kind of have him have a more cool toned look, so I decided to go with the T markers instead. So I first started out with my lightest color and completely colored his whole body just to really saturate that paper. That's going to help all of the colors to easily blend together as I continue to add each of them on there. And then I'm just going to kind of go back and forth between the darkest, the medium, and the lightest and blend them out until I'm happy with it. I'm using an R30 to add some paint color to his ears, and I also added a little bit of that gray color to the insides of his ears as well. I did put a little bit on his cheeks, but you can see that it's not really showing up that well, so I decided to add a little bit of pink to his snout area too, just to kind of give it that little bit of a pinky look. Once I was done with that, it's time to color in his big heart that he's holding, so I decided to do the main part of the heart with reds. So once again, I started with that lightest color first, and then I went in with my darkest and medium colors to blend that out. And then to finish coloring in the image, I'm going to use a BG15 marker, and I'm going to color in the little bit of scallop detail around the heart. And I'm using the aqua color because I know I want to add this to a blue raspberry card base, and that is going to help coordinate everything together. Once I was done the coloring, I went ahead and die cut him with the coordinating die, and now I'm going to trim down the panel. I did start it off as a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel, but I want it to be slightly smaller than my card base, so I did trim it to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Okay, so now that we have our card base, we have our panel done, and we have our little bear colored and die cut, we need to add the sentiment to the card. Now for the sentiment, it is very large and it has a lot of solid area, so I wanted to use my mini MISTI to do the stamping just in case it needed to be double stamped, which you will see I ended up having to stamp it twice. You definitely don't need a MISTI tool to do this. You just want to ensure that you have it really inked up and pressed down really nicely when you do stamp this out. So I'm going to go ahead and press this down, and I just didn't put enough pressure at the beginning part of the stamp, so I didn't fully get the H and the K. So I am going to add a little bit more ink there and just stamp it a second time, and that's going to give me a really nice crisp sentiment that kind of stands out and is the highlight of the card. Now you can see there I have a couple of butterflies that are on the card there by the sentiment, and those I also stamped from the same stamp set. I colored and die cut them. I decided once I had the sentiment on there and kind of played around with the bear image, I didn't feel like it had enough on there, so I decided to add those just for a little bit more interest. So I ended up putting the bear on some foam adhesive, and I'm just using a Copic marker to add a little bit of shading under his feet just to ground him a bit so he doesn't look like he's kind of floating in air. And then I'm going to add the panel directly to the card base. Now the card base was a little bit wider than the panel, so I did trim it down a tiny bit, and now we have our complete scene here on our blue raspberry card base, and we can just add a few finishing touches. So I'm going to first add a few of these clear droplets. I have 5 of them in total, and I just put them on with some matte multi-medium. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glitter to the heart that the bear is holding. So I'm going to use a Nuvo glitter pen, which is just a clear glitter, and I'm going to color that all over that heart area. Now just be careful when you're doing this because the glitter pen will pick up some of that color, so you kind of want to make sure you're staying in the lines when you're coloring this so that you don't kind of spread that red color elsewhere. So you can see as you're looking at this that it's really hard to even tell that I put glitter on there, but I promise you it is there. So I did take my phone and I put my flashlight on, and I'm just going to kind of shine it on here to show you that sparkle. And look at that amazing sparkle that's on there. I love this glitter pen. It just adds such a cute finishing touch, especially to this heart that the bear is holding. And then once that is done, our card is complete, and we have this really adorable Valentine's Day card that would be perfect for a significant other, a child, or anyone that you want to send it to. If you're interested in any of the supplies that I've used in today's video, they're all linked below in the video description. As always, I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you in another video soon. Thanks for watching.